Gamers, how you going? Just thought I'd update my build and sort of do like a bit of a build showcase and show you what I've changed over the past couple of days and my progression. And so far I've killed up to the Arbor of Ash +3. And we'll start with my skills. I'm level 96 now, which is pretty good. Okay, so most of the skills I haven't really changed much except an Elemental Storm. My Ascendancy, I use this to do my lightning exposure. So in here we've got lightning exposure, strip away, font of mana, ingenuity for the cooldown recovery rate, electrocute. I'm just sort of trying that out, see if it builds up enough on bosses. This is interchangeable, you can put whatever you want here at the end. For defensive, I've sort of got Bone Cage at the moment. Sort of if they get on top of you, I can sort of drop it down and sort of give me a brief moment to sort of get away, pins them in place. On that we've got Wind Wave, Lockdown, and Considered Casting. I've also slotted in Mana Remnants, so what happens is when I'm clearing my way through the maps, sort of spawns these little like mana orbs on the ground which you can pick up, which is really good for the return of mana. And the cast on shock I've also changed it up a little bit. So I got cast on shock, lightning conduit. I got lucky with a level 20 skill gem drop, and also 23% quality. Impetuous, energy retention, inspiration for the reduced cost because it is quite costly, as you can see over here. 336 mana per, and it procs a lot. And magnified effect for map clear, and then in my inventory I swap out either controlled destruction or elemental focus. So I'll take away magnified effect, sometimes I'll take away inspiration on bosses, and I've been toying around with trying to get a Baltic Mark in there as well. I was using lightning warp as well because it applies shock ground, but it gets a bit sketchy and sort of puts you in a bit of a bad spot. In conductivity, I've been using the magnified effect up here, so I sort of swapped it out when I'm not using it. But on the conductivity, when you just cast on cursed ground, so we got heightened curse, cursed ground, and focus curse. And I only use this for bosses or super techie rares. Just sort of put on the ground. You can go increase the area of effect. I think there's something that gives you more area effect but has a cooldown as well. I've still got space to put in more slots or more skills if I need. Claymore hasn't changed. I'm using Fortress, Spell Cascade, and Persistence, which is basically you put this down and you're clearing, your projectiles go through it to added fire damage. Spark, I've changed a little bit up on this. So yeah, on this I've got Overcharge, which is the magnitude still. I've got Arcane Tempo back in because I found I don't really need the mana reduced cost. I sort of tap it once and it sort of is enough to kill pretty much everything on the screen. So this is interchangeable, you can change it whatever you want. You don't really notice a difference without the with or without it. So it's sort of situational. You can have 100% more chance of shock. You can have a few things there, so it's entirely situational. Coursing current for the AoE spread of the shocks. Something dies, it spreads the shock, which gives you more generation of your cast on shock. Acceleration and mobility. Nothing that really increases the damage of Spark in here. As you can see, it's 28k, but we're just using that to deliver our actual shocks. Archmage. In Archmage I've now got Lightning Mastery, so +1 to the Archmage, as well as Clarity, so for the mana regen. And that's pretty much all my skills. The only other thing I got from the staff from the offhand is Sigil Power. That's pretty much it. Just go over the gear changes. So I've changed out a amulet. So I've now got an amulet that gives me 42 spirit, as well as my chest that gives me 61 spirit. So that's what allows me to get my Mana Remnants, Cast on Shock, and Archmage all at once. I was planning also to maybe drop Remnants at some stage because it gives 30 spirit, and try and get enough spirit maybe on a corruption or some sort to run another cast on shock at the same time, but it might be costing the mana. Nothing else has pretty much changed, except I spent 22 divine and bought myself this flask. This flask is an absolute lifesaver. So nothing is really that important on the flask itself except for the amount of charges. The way this works is, say you're in a bit of trouble or you're getting low in your mana, you're having mana issues, and you get about half, you get hit by a mob. What it does is, so I can get right down low, press my number 2, instant back up the full mana. Really good. It saved me on a couple of fights with the tier 4 breach and a few other fights as well. You can run some really juicy maps with this. It does do other things as well, so it does, the way it reads, it says every 3 seconds during effect, deal 50% of mana spent in those 3 seconds as chaos damage to enemies within 3 meters. Recover all mana when used. Deal 25% of current mana as chaos damage to you when the effect ends. That gets nullified because in my setup I'm running chaos inoculation, so it doesn't actually take away, it doesn't cause any damage to you. So nothing's really changed in the passive tree itself. Obviously this is my passive tree here, and we're still running a 47% adorned with a whole bunch of jewels that give meta energy, increased magnitude of shock. I think I got 2 or 3 of these now, so there's one here, one there, and I think there was one up top. Yeah, so I got 3 now, and then the rest has been basically ailment threshold. Will change that out as well. I need a little bit more magnitude of shock to get it 100%. I think I'm at 95% now. Mana regeneration rate, magnitude. Obviously we're stacking magnitude. I've grabbed it everywhere I can on the tree. This one here, these 2 jewels here, I've got the From Nothing diamond. I've really gotten these 2 to save a few points in the tree, so I was traversed down here, but I've saved 5 points here, and I've also saved 5 points here, or 6 points here, to use elsewhere on the tree. This one's quite costly. It was costly when I bought it. It was about 17 divine. And this one here, I got earlier on. So the magnitude and the ailment can be quite costly at the moment, but it's definitely a nice addition. The most important thing with the build is the mana cost, reduced mana cost. So I've the way I've done that is I've gotten reduced cost of skills here, as well as the reduced cost down here. So when you're in 15% reduced mana cost while not on low mana, and you're never on low mana until you get to about down there somewhere. The only other addition I got is I went and farmed up the currency, and I bought myself the materials to get this anoint down here. This anoint, in my opinion, is a big game changer. So I think it was about 4 or 5 divine that I spent to try and get the suffering into isolation. It really helps out. Basically, it rolls the higher out of the damage that you would potentially do for the greater number. Definitely noticeable for the clear. For the Ascendancy, nothing's changed. I'm still using Elemental Storm for my lightning exposure. Still doing the 2 shocks at the same time for strike twice, and the Arcane Surge and the Arcane Surge effect. I think I've said it before. Some people use Scouring Winds for the exposure with Orb Storms. You can use it. My brother suggested actually to use Ice Wall, whatever it is, to try that out and see if it can sort of explode the crystals on bosses when I'm doing bosses. But that is pretty much it, gamers. That's all I really want to show you. This is my gear. My gear is still relatively budget, except for obviously the cost of the enchant on that. Some of the rarity rings can be quite costly, and I'm also at, I think it's 188% rarity still, 182% rarity. So I believe it's only 100% rarity you actually need, but it's definitely scales significantly in group play. So I'll just go with my gear. Obviously the rings probably be about the most expensive thing. ingenuity is kind of needed for the build. Again, with the uniques, I've played this, and most of my intro video, I did all those bosses, or most of those bosses, without this flask. It's just basically to save you from death. Also, I actually got lucky in the ritual that I just ran, and I got myself a audience with the king. So I will be finally putting a video to see how it performs against the against that content. Show the rest of my gear. And that's pretty much it. The two things that I change out for the flasks is the stun charm, depends what it says on the map modifiers, and the freeze. If you see things like monsters have more freeze build up and stun build up, or freeze build up, shock build up, you use this one for the freeze, and then you use this one for the stun. Mostly you use this one. Apart from that, that is pretty much it, gamers. Any questions, feel free to hit me up. I'll do my best to give you an answer or help you out anyway. Have a good day, and I'll speak to you soon.
Didn't break a sweat. By Garukan! punishment should have ended long ago.
Face me!
Watching.